Hey everybody, it's GoblinX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another Premier Draft of Pioneer Masters with that Devotion bonus sheet. This is after Pioneer Masters competitive season. We're in that little in-between waiting for Aether Drift, so it's time to do some goofy nonsense, because nothing really matters here. The competitive format is done. We don't have to practice up to try to win any Arena Opens or Arena Directs of this set or anything like that. That said, I think the fun pick and the powerful pick in this pack line up, so we're just going to start with our incredible mythic, Blood Baron of Viscopa. This is a 5 mana, 4/4 lifelink with protection from white and protection from black. Protection, an ability that they don't print too often anymore because it's a little confusing and very annoying. So it is just tremendously powerful. It can't be blocked, can't be targeted, can't be dealt damage by any cards of those colors. So protection, of course, giving multiple avenues of protection for the Blood Baron of Viscopa. For pick number 2, we can just stick to black-white here with the Imperious Oligarch. I actually have not been able to pull off a black-white deck in this format yet, and there are some pretty cool sacrifice nonsense shenanigans you can do, kind of an aristocrat-style deck, because there's some cards in this format that are actually the literal cartel aristocrats, where you can sacrifice a creature to give them protection from whatever color you want. There's also the Nantuko Husk, that's going to sack creatures, get +2/+2 till end of turn. The sacrifice deck in the format is actually in black-white, so could just roll with that to go with our Blood Baron here. I'm not sure that's strictly the best pick here. It's probably better to stay a little more open, taking the Hero Virois, which is great in any white deck, but if we can play a really solid black-white deck, that's one of the few things in the format we have not managed to do yet, so I would not mind that at all. Now, ideally, again, since this is the last week of the Devotion bonus sheet, and kind of the last week of the format in general, I would like to be doing some spicy Devotion stuff in our last opportunity to do so. But if I can't do that, at least ending up in an archetype that we haven't been able to play before would be nice as well, and that's where the Cartel Aristocrat plays quite well. This is a 2-mana 2/2 that can pretty easily gain protection from whatever you need. If you've got a lot of the Imperious Oligarch style cards that spit out a token when they die, or maybe even some just general token producers. I would not be surprised if the best pick in a vacuum is like Disciple of Phalanx again, because it's a mono-colored spell, so if we get pushed off of white, we still have that available to us in a different black deck, but I'm just going to fully lock in here, just take multiple Orzhov cards in a row, have a nice, simple draft ahead of us. For pick 4, that could change when we see a Gates Ablaze. Gates Ablaze really incentivizes you to play the 5-color Gates deck. It is the best way to stay alive in that archetype, and that's the only real issue with it, is that because you're playing so many tap lands and so many high mana value spells, you can just get aggroed out. Well, if you have a few copies of Gates Ablaze, that deals with that really easily, and then you have a great deck in any matchup. So Gates Ablaze is an incredibly high pick, but we also have one of the best bombs in the entire format that's going to lock us pretty deeply into Orzhov by itself. And my next 2 picks were also Orzhov, so I don't mind just sticking to what we have here. We could either grab a Rakdos Guildgate in case we want to splash in red, take a Possessed Scab in case we want to splash in blue, or take just an okay on-color card like Supernatural Stamina or Lotus Eye Mystics. I don't think Supernatural Stamina is actually the greatest in this deck. One of the best things that it can do is to protect one of your better creatures and make sure that it sticks around, and it can't actually do that with the best creature in our deck, because we can't target this with our black spells, so we can't Supernatural Stamina our Blood Baron, so I'm just going to grab a Guildgate there just in case there's any great red spells to splash, and maybe even just like a Dreadbore for more removal. For pick 5 now, we've got Ardenvale Tactician and Celestial Archon. These are both just great flyers for their mana costs that also help your white Devotion, because they have 2 white mana symbols in the cost. So I'm happy to take one of those. We could also stay really open here and really speculative with a Pilgrim's Eye. It's going to really help us fix if we end up doing that, doing any splashing, that is. But I'm pretty happy to just grab a great flyer here. And I already have like an incredible Mythic 5-drop, so I'm going to go for filling out the lower end of the curve. That's where things are much less replaceable. There's the Nantuko Husk, theoretically an MVP in this archetype, but Wingsteed Rider is also quite strong, an evasive threat that keeps getting bigger when you target it with spells, We already have the Ardenvale Tactician with that Dizzying Swoop adventure to put a +1/+1 counter on it. This is pretty close between the two. But the other thing that's kind of fun about taking Wingsteed Rider is that it also helps out, again, with that Devotion bonus sheet. If we get anything like the Evangel of Heliod here that cares about white devotion, now every card we've taken has at least one white mana symbol in its cost, and multiple of them have two. So that's going to be pretty solid devotion for this. Plus, this will play well if we get any cards that really care about sacrificing, like the Cartel Aristocrat style cards. I guess Nantuko Husk just got quite a bit better, which is a little awkward, but I'm going to take the Evangel here over Compulsory Rest. This is somewhat mediocre removal because it doesn't stop any of the abilities of the creature, it just stops it from attacking and blocking, and your opponent can sack it for some life later. So I think I can afford to take a very solid synergy-driven uncommon over that removal spell there. When we're in a color pair that has a lot of excellent removal, I think we can pass up on some of the weaker spells, since we can take cards like Obnixious Cruelty really highly as an incredible removal spell on color. Here's Triplicate Spirits, pick 9. We actually have a really good position for a token deck here. We now have the Evangel, 2 Imperious Oligarchs, and Triplicate Spirits, so very happy with how this draft has gone so far. For pick 10, there's the Heroic card we probably won't play. I suppose Slumgar Butcher is probably at its best in this archetype. We're going to have the most kind of tokens here out of anything else. And I don't think Ghostblade Eidolon is that great. Not super pumped about the Slumgar Butcher, but it could play well. It could Guildgate over Disciple here. But, I mean, we have such a great black-white core to the deck that it would take some really powerful spell to get us splashing around. Pick 13. Really think we're a Return Centaur deck. We're probably not a Lotus Eye Mystics deck either, but if we get a bunch of enchantment creatures and bestow nonsense, this can pick those up. And random mana fixing. Yeah, this looks pretty sweet. It's going to be our first time playing Orzhov, and it already looks like a pretty great deck, and we're only 1 pack in. 3 2-drop creatures. Ooh, 4 2-drop creatures. All right, definitely want white at the core of this deck. Like 10 plains, 7 swamps, something like that, because now we have 3 double white cards that cost 3 or less mana. We even have 2 double white cards at 6 mana here. Although Triplicate Spirits, because it has Convoke, is quite easy to cast. But what do we have here? Whenever a creature controlled dies, each opponent sacks a creature of their choice, but it's 5 mana, it doesn't do anything by itself. You need to get this 5-drop out and then have creatures die afterward. It's very narrow, but in the right position, really powerful in a token deck like this. I just really don't like cards like this that you can just have as a dead draw a lot of the time that just doesn't functionally change the game. I think I'd rather just take the Priest of the Bloodright, which is also really good for this archetype. It's got plenty of synergy and is just a generically good draw a lot more often. This is 2 creatures for 1 card, one of which is a gigantic flyer. So we'll take that. Now we have an Ardenvale Tactician again, or an Orzhov Guildgate. A lot of double white and some double black in the deck, so the Guildgate would be pretty helpful. We don't have too many devotion cards right now, but that Evangel does make me quite interested in another double white. I'm going to take this over Orzhov Guildgate, and if the Guildgate wheels, I will slam dunk that. There's also the Escape from the Underworld. That is an interesting card. It would be pretty solid in this deck, I think, because we can sacrifice a potential Oligarch or a token or something to reanimate a much bigger creature. Pick 3, Sin Collector is just a generically good card. Obviously, it is a black-white uncommon, but it doesn't really hit any specific archetype synergies. It's just got an excellent enter effect, where if our opponent has an instant or sorcery in their hand, we get a sick 2-for-1 off of this. Pick 4. We can probably wheel another Knight of the White Orchid, so I'm going to take the Ardenvale Tactician, wheel the Knight. And again, try to be very deep into white to make these super castable and make our Evangel really nice. This is kind of cool. because we're getting to play, again, an archetype I haven't played yet, but also getting to do devotion sheet nonsense with this Evangel. So we're getting to do a little everything I wanted to do. We have one massive issue with this deck, and that is that we have basically no removal spells. I technically have one Slumgar Butcher for -3/-3, but we really need to take removal super, super highly going forward because I have basically all creatures right now. All right, we got a mediocre removal spell here. We're going to have to take a mediocre removal spell. Swift Reckoning can only destroy tapped creatures, but it's still pretty efficient, just 2 mana to do that, so we will take it. More than low enough on removal to be interested in that. Pick 6. I think I would 100% take any removal spell that's more flexible than Swift Reckoning, like Ob Nixilis' Cruelty here, but the fact that it's Swift Reckoning again is like such a bummer. I really just want to take Triplicate Spirits. I think this card is phenomenal at the top of the curve. Like, you can even cast it turn 4 a lot of the time. Tap into your 2-drop and 3-drop. It's such a wide board, and it's so good in this archetype. I'm going to take it, and we might be able to wheel the Cartel Aristocrat. We're getting really late in the pack for wheels, but I don't think anybody else is in Orzhov, probably. We do still have to take the generically good cards, like Sin Collector, somewhat highly, because someone took the Gates Ablaze, so somebody gets to just be 5 colors and scoop these cards up anyway, just because they're good. But the stuff like Cartel Aristocrat that's like only good specifically in like a sack deck might actually wheel super late. The 5-color player definitely not interested in Cartel Aristocrat. Wow. All right, pick 7. There's a Sin Collector and an Imperious Oligarch, and I'm passing another Swift Reckoning. We'll see how bad that comes back to bite us, because I think Sin Collector is just absurd. Once again, I would not be passing Ob Nixilis' Cruelty or even Ultimate Price for the Sin Collector, but I'll pass Swift Reckoning for it. It's just a lot more mediocre than the black removal spells. We might just be like mono white splash black. Got the double black cards here. Just so deep towards white devotion that it's just like all this and like a couple swamps to cast Blood Barons, Sin Collectors, just the gold cards literally, which is pretty funny. Okay, once again, I'm gonna look like a real hypocrite here, but when I say we need removal, I mean good removal, where we can actually deal with what we need to kill. Devour Flesh is even worse than Swift Reckoning because it is so easy for them to just have any other creature on board. Then you just need to kill the one really good target, and it never does that. It rarely does that. Technically, there could be a board state where they only have one creature on board, and that creature is really good. And then the card plays well, but it is quite a rarity. Pick 9. Looks like poop. Just if you hold down the Alt key and might rare draft here. I can't imagine I'm playing Tormented Hero or Sanitarium Skeleton. I guess Sanitarium Skeleton hits some synergies. I'll still speculate on it over rare drafting. Okay, now I'll take a Devour Flesh. Sad Gauntlet is here. I have to run a Devour Flesh because I got no removal. Is there like a Rakdos player taking all my Nantuko Shades? Or Nantuko Husks? That's sad. A bunch of booty to end off pack number 2, but that's okay. We've already got a full deck at the ready. Pack 3 can be spent just improving it. And there you go. As expected, the Cartel Aristocrat does somehow manage to wheel even pick 14, and the Oligarch pick 15. Good archetype to be in, but we opened up no removal. I would take a removal spell over any of these cards, but Night Howler is quite powerful, so I'll be perfectly fine to take that. It's definitely stronger than Ardenvale Tactician normally, but we might be so heavily skewed towards white and trying to do the fun Evangel stuff that we want the double white card over the double black card. This will be considerably harder for us to cast. But bestowing a Night Howler is very powerful. I feel like it's worth the double black cost. have that 4-mana bestow ability at the ready. Removal? No removal, unless I splash in a fight with fire, which I guess I have Rakdos Guildgate Evolving Wilds. I don't think I'm doing that. Again, Obnox's Cruelty, on color, good removal. I'm slam dunking that here, but because I have to splash around to get this in, I'd rather just take the Linvala. Just an excellent 6-drop. If you're behind in any way, then she's got some really good enter abilities. Spitting out a creature, gaining some life. Removal, removal, removal. No! No removal. Looks like time for an Nantuko Husk, and we get to get this Oligarch back with the way that the draft is played so far pretty easily. Or could stick just super deep white Tactician over the Husk, but I feel like I'm really, really, really good at sacking stuff with very little that actually cares about sacking things right now. I don't know, we could just be like literally generic white. All my creatures have flying. Oops, I win the deck. Yeah, I actually don't mind that. We have so many flyers in here. Hero of Iroas actually plays well with 4 copies of Ardenvale Tactician. And there's again no removal in this pack. There's a Sajiri Shelter. I do have an insanely high creature count here. Like, I guess I can run 3 non-creatures with Supernatural Stamina, Swift Reckoning, Devour Flesh, but that's it. I do need just random non-creature spells. Alright, sorry, hero. I'll take Sajiri Shelter. Another non-creature spell. I guess the problem here is that black is just not open. So people are just taking all the excellent black removal spells, and I'm getting left with absolute scraps when it comes to interaction. 1 Swift Reckoning, 1 Devour Flesh, and a Dream. I think is where it's gonna be. Syndicate Messenger would be perfectly fine here. But I'm gonna get the fixing in here. Trying to play double black spells and a million double white spells. Slumgar Butcher. I probably have to play the first copy. Might pick up another over the hero. Quadruple Tactician, double Sajiri Shelter. The hero is some spice, but I've also got 7 2-drops already. I can play some slightly worse 2-drops instead of the hero. Yeah, we'll grab the Butcher. Again, just gotta do what you gotta do. Rescue from the Underworld could be cute in here. That's the only thing we might play. I don't even think it's like insane in here or anything anyway. Would I really play 5 Tacticians? Probably not. Take the Trailblazer, start the curve on turn 1, and that's more white devotion. That can get to faster triplicate spirits as well. Just another creature on board early. 3, 4, 5 non-creatures. Yeah, I don't think I need the random pump spell too much. Get an Nantuko Husk. Grab some uncommons for the collection. I got Double Butcher. We can play Double Butcher 1 Artful Maneuver. Alright, I have to cut a lot of cards here. And they're basically just all going to be creatures getting cut out. We have so many. 50 cards. I get to cut 10. I've got double Sajiri Shelter. I can definitely cut 1 planes for those 2. That way we can use these as a land half the time, spell half the time. And we're essentially playing a 16 or 18 land deck flexibly, depending on what we need at the time. And what we need to draw. You know, I'm kind of interested in just diving as deep into white as possible. I have to cut so many cards, it's the simplest direction to go. Still run the Butchers for sure. Yeah, just all the black spells. 6 cards to cut still? Oh. Oh no. But I don't wanna. I don't want to cut all these flyers. Three cards to cut. The one-drop Trailblazer, and then that's every heroic card in the deck. So we can probably cut Artful Maneuver, just run the shelters as protection. 16 lands, 18 creatures. Feels like we cut another creature. Opponent controls more lands than you. You can search for planes put on the battlefield and shuffle. So this card is mediocre on the play and incredible on the draw. It's awkward. So any game where we're on the play is just gonna be like, all right, this is whatever. But if we're on the draw, then this card is just an absolute banger. I feel like it's worth the risk. Run that here. Maybe I can cut one of these Cartel Aristocrats. Got shelters and a stamina to just protect stuff generically already. Butchers to sack things if I really want to sack Oligarchs, or if I want to like stamina a collector and then sack it to Butcher. Yeah, I think I can cut one of these Aristocrats. All right. Orzhov good stuff for the first time ever. Pretty excited to see how this deck does, especially with the Evangel of Heliod Spice. Not something you're going to see too often in the format, and might be able to provide a lot of 1/1 soldiers in this deck. So we'll see how it all plays out for us after I edit the mana base a little more, because we have no double black cards and it wants just as many white and black sources. So we definitely want to change that. Almost did an oopsie here. Let's go to like 9-5 split here. I still have a bunch of 2 mana black spells where I need that swamp turn 2 ideally, so I don't want to go at like any further than this. But I think I'm cool with what, 11-7 split? That, even that might be a little aggressive. Oh yeah, because I have 2 Sigiri shelters as well. Yeah, closer to this then. Because then it's actually 10, 11, 12 white sources and 8 black sources. Yeah, that makes sense. That looks better. All right, now we will call it a deck here and hop into the gameplay. All right, here we are on the play for game 1. Biggest issue here is the lack of a second planes, but I'm still definitely going to keep the hand. We have the Sin Collector, and if we manage to Supernatural Stamina Sin Collector, that could be super, super rude. Opponent starts with Gateway Plaza, so probably a lot of colors over there. Drawn to an Imperious Oligarch. Let's see what's going on in their hand here with Sin Collector. Oh, Phoenix, God of Deception. This thing can mill you about so fast, so easily. So, I mean, we exile the only option that we have, but it looks like they're Esper Flyers? So they're probably like blue-white Flyers, but they're splashing in the Phoenix for the mill wins. Okay. From what we've seen, they don't have anything to cast this turn, so let's just send in the Sin Collector. I mean, I guess they could like tap it with Dizzying Swoop pre-combat, but they did not. Here's Oligarch. So yeah, Phoenix, all their creatures can tap to mill less equal to their toughness. So even with like 2 3/3s on the board, that mills us 6 cards a turn, which can mill out a limited deck insanely fast. Knight of the White Orchid could end up playing well for us. Let's send in with the Supernatural Stamina up. Doubt they block, but if they do, that'll be awesome. Especially if they block Sin Collector. All right, they block Sin Collector. Let's go. See their other 2 cards. Hope one of them is an instant or sorcery, but we'll see. Nope, their own Evangel of Heliod in the 3-color deck? I guess because they've got double whites like Ardenvale Tactician and stuff. Well, their hand is awkward. The double aqueous form don't really do anything right now. All right, here's Tactician. They don't have the second white source for the Tactician or the Evangel. They can cast a Finax with no other creatures on board, but they don't get to mill us at all. Doesn't get to block at all. This is pretty brutal. All right, they have more lands than us now, so we definitely Knight of the White Orchid. And the Plains goes into play untapped, which is insane. We get to also play the Oligarch. Should be super hard for our opponent to stabilize from here. That's 6 mana, but still no double white. Their mana base is eating them alive here. They just cannot find the Plains. Brutal. The GG from opponent. Because they can't cast any creatures. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's just game. We start things off 1-0, heading into game number 2. Here we are on the play for game 2. This might be a mulligan. I mean, we've got both of our colors. We have a 2-drop and a 5-drops, but it's literally just a 2/2 first strike. We don't get the ability because we're on the play. And then we have these with nothing to sack for them, so they're just 5 mana 3/3s, unless I draw well. I don't know, my basic limited instincts are like, if the mana's good and you have plays, keep it, but the plays are mediocre. Alright, Supernatural Stamina makes the Knight of the White Orchid a little more interesting. Although I guess because it has first strike, it's probably just going to first strike kill whatever if I Supernatural Stamina it, which is a little awkward. Alright, we got pretty lucky here. We hit an excellent draw that makes this hand much better, and that's the Imperious Oligarch. That is 2 sacrifices for the Slumgar Butchers if we need to use their ability. There's Pilgrim's Eye from our opponent. Solid blocker for the Oligarch. Just turn it into the 1/1 flyer. I think I'm free to just Supernatural Stamina here immediately. Keep the board pretty wide. That way I have a 1/1 flyer and still a 2/1 Vigilance for the future. Because next turn I'm going to tap out for the Butcher, so we know we're not going to Supernatural Stamina next turn. So just stay mana efficient, keep the beat down going. Yeah, Pelucranos is an issue, isn't it? Good thing I'm going to kill it. Main phase 2. It's going to cost 2 of my creatures, but it's going to be worth it. Because Pelucranos is gigantic. Starts as a 5/5 and it monstrosities to get even bigger, and when it monstrosities, it kills all your like 1/1 flyers and stuff. Speaking of killing all your 1/1 flyers and stuff, this is the matchup where I lose for not drafting removal. Because we're just going to get demolished by gigantic green creatures I can't do anything about. This could really come back to bite me, but I'm going to sack the Butcher here to keep the flyers. Because green-red, they're going to be relying on reach creatures. They ideally should have almost all ground troops where the flyers are the most likely to be able to play well. But they immediately had another reach creature, so a 3/3 would probably be slightly better than a 1/1 flyer. But it's also blanked by a 3/4. Just helps us block the other stuff. Yeah, green-red big stuff just does seem like a pretty horrible matchup for us because we just could not find any good removal in the pod. And sadly, we are entering the flood zone. So this game at least should end pretty soon. I'm at 19 right now, but I think they can halve my life total each turn. Just a couple turns more of this until we move on to game 3. They're playing fast and loose with their removal. That felt very unnecessary. But, I mean, I'm drawing too many lands for that to matter. Yeah, I mean, I'm not dead on board because I tactician these two. But we've got no outs here. Alright. Now I feel like this is a bad matchup for most decks. They've got a Nissa on top of all that. They can buff the entire board if they want. +1/+1 counter on everybody. That is super bad. Here's the +1/+1 counter on everybody. Nissa, very, very solid Planeswalker. Blow up the Dragon Mantle. No! Alright. You got me. We are 1-1 heading to game 3. Alright, here we are for game number 3. On the draw here, mono white hand. I have the Swift Reckoning for their first creature they attack me with, and even if they don't, I could actually Dizzying Swoop and then Swift Reckoning. Alright, we're just gonna Swift Reckoning. Playing against Boros, and they're on the play. I have drawn 2 black spells in a row with my mono white hand. That is not good. Can we draw 1 black source before our 3rd black spell off the top? I mean, I've got 3 black spells in hand, but 1 was in the opener. These are some horribad draws, or terribad draws. Horribad sounds really crass. Terribad draws. We'll go with that. Okay. We have found the swamp, and now we're fine. We're not great, but we're fine. Let's see what's going on in their Boros hand. They should have some instant sorcery combat tricks. Yeah, Artful Maneuver. Oh! Double rare mythic, you say? Might be 1 and 2 pretty quick here. So they can just chain to the rocks 2 of our creatures. They can ordeal onto a double striker, which is terrifying. Yeah, so next turn they just ordeal the Eidolon, chain to the rocks the Tactician, so I can't block it well. Hit me for 4. Next turn hit me for 6. I need to hit a land for the Slumgar Butcher. That's about my only out. So we can butcher the Eidolon. And even if we manage to do that, once they hit the mana for this Archangel, that takes over the game real easily. This could just be the quick 1-3 draft of showing just how important removal is in this format. Not that I had too many other options. I had the opportunity to pick up a lot of Swift Reckonings. In the aggro matchup, the Swift Reckonings would have been great. But they don't help us get damage through against blockers, which is what makes them a lot less consistent than just the good old Omnix's Cruelty. This draft was just me looking out the rain-filled window, just where are you, Omnix's Cruelty? Where are you, Ultimate Price? I miss you. Land 5, Archangel, GG. So at this point, I think we only win if they misplay pretty bad, or if we can get them to make suboptimal blocks. So I can bluff a combat trick here. I feel like I have to like bluff a combat trick here and them to just let the damage in. So that's what the full control mode is for. So that arena acts like I'm holding an instant. Which I guess it already does because Ardenvale Tactician. But I need them to not block here, and then I got a Dizzying Swoop. Let's go. Let's go. Now we Dizzying Swoop a Lifelinker down. They've got double chain to the rocks, so I still don't see how this is going to end up finding lethal, but it is by far our best bet, and it's worked out so far. Again, obviously if they call me out on that bluff, I 100% lose this game, but I'm in a position where I'm already like 98% likely to lose. And if we play this way and they don't take that bluff, then I have a much better shot of trying to outrace them here over time. No lands for the butcher. It's not going to do it. I feel like they definitely block now. They block the Sin Collector here. And then I can cast one Ardenvale Tactician that gets changed to the rocks. And they kill me with Needle Spiders and Eidolon. Or Needle Spires. Needle Spiders? I don't want to ever see a Needle Spider in my life. That sounds terrifying. I don't think we get there without this land. I cannot swing out here. Yeah, because I mean, now they just chain to the rocks one of the tacticians, and then Archangel gets to keep hitting me, gaining them life to have all the breathing room in the world, and buffing their board turnover turn here. Yeah, I don't see how we possibly win now. I needed that butcher mana. I think I did everything that we possibly could here. Going for the bluff attack, but it's not going to be enough. Does Ordeal trigger when it triggers? Yes, then if it has 3 or more, do the thing. So it's not going to trigger this turn, because it's going to have 3 or more after Archangel's ability. They changed to the rocks the non-flyer? Okay, I still almost definitely lose, but I feel like I have a better chance this way. Because I actually get to kill the Archangel. Take 1,000,000 damage to do it, but it's what it is. Yeah, I mean, I guess I die to Rogue's Passage is probably their plan. Which I would kind of do regardless. Oh, you're a turn late, buddy. I can't kill that Eidolon anymore. You are literally 1 turn too late. Close, but we are out of it there. 1 and 2. No cigar on that. We are heading into game number 4. All right, here we are on the play with Knight of the White Orchid. You need to show up on the draw, not on the play. Excuse me, sir. The hand is still good. I'm just going to lead with Oligarch. But we're probably just going to play this turn 3 and then Triplicate Spirits turn 4. Ooh! I just get to play Oligarch. Hold off on the Knight of the White Orchid in case I stop hitting land drops. Then I actually get its enter the battlefield value. Playing against a black deck. This might be a solid matchup. If they just have a bunch of removal for Oligarchs that don't exile. We get the afterlife triggers. Give me another black source. Actually, did I even play the double black cards? No, I only ran all the single black cards. I'm just going to get more white mana. Oh, the plains. Well, oligarchs are incredible with triplicate spirits. So we're going to do that. They definitely don't want to trade Husk into a 2-1 that replaces itself when it dies. Yeah, I forgot how sick Vigilance and Convoke is. Life-Bane Zombie! Oh... Pioneer Masters is nice because you get to look at the old school era of Magic where there's so many cards that it's like, oops, I'm playing the wrong colors, so I get mega hosed. 3-1 Intimidate, exile a card from my hand, and I never get it back, even if I kill the zombie. It is insanely good against a green or a white deck. Now, I did play one in a much earlier draft, and I enjoyed it a lot. Draft makes anybody a hypocrite. You hate to see it on the other side of the board, but you love to play it on yours. All right. I have a million 1/1 flyers. Really now? I'd probably still win this, but that is extra annoying. Goodbye, Knight of the White Orchid. I guess I should have cast it first and I still would have had the devotion I needed, right? Or not the devotion, the convoke I needed, because it would have been 2 mana tapped. I'd have 2 creatures up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I would not have had the mana. I would have been 1 mana off from convoking it. Maybe play it first and then attack with 1 less creature. 1 less of the 1/1 flyers so that I can convoke it off of those. That would play around the supernatural stamina. Doesn't matter though, opponent never finds their second color. I'm guessing that's the concession there. They don't find the second color. I mean, even if they're mono black, I guess just 5,000 1/1 flyers is too much, so we'll take it. We are 2-2. We're on the draw for the Knight of the White Orchid this time, but I don't have double white, but I'm still going to keep it because I can Sin Collector turn 3. It's my worst possible play. And if I hit a Plains, this hand is insane. That's... It's close enough. But I have to play the Knight turn 3. I'm going to Evolve in Wilds first. Technically, if I Sajiri Shelter first, I'm slightly more likely to draw an untapped white source, because now there's 1 less Plains in my deck. But this way, if I draw the white source, I still have a Sajiri Shelter for later. This helps prevent flood in the late game instead. Or am I going to just die to 1 Monastery Swift Spear? It's possible. That has been the big detriment to the deck, is the lack of removal. More Boros. I feel like they played the Plains last turn. I should have realized a turn sooner. But now I see. Boros again. Cool. Congratulations. Boros on the play. We go tap land, and that's dead. Yep. They were Boros, they're on the play, and we went tap land. So... I think this is game. I feel like Sin Collector's... No, if I Sin Collector, the Swift Spear attacks, blows up the Sin Collector anyway. Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. We had a shot here. So what I could have done, I played the untapped land immediately because I'm like, well, I'm just going to want to play a 3-drop, right? But if I just had those two lands, I could have played the knight towards another plains, then the swamp. I'd have a white and a black up. So I could play the knight plus Dizzying Swoop in the same turn. This turn is significantly worse since I did that. Yeah, I mean, now I just Dizzying Swoop and nothing else. Shoot. We had actually a solid, stable turn there. If I could get a creature down and Dizzying Swoop at the same time. Definitely made it way harder on us playing this way. But they look a little flooded, maybe? Because they didn't cast anything last turn, and they haven't missed a land drop. Just a Boulder Salvo for 5 mana? Man, I might have punted us out of this. Because if that's their best line, like, my god. We're in such a spot here to stabilize. I'm going to do another Dizzying Swoop, am I not? I'm going to do another Dizzying Swoop. Could be the most annoying player. Get rid of Coordinated Assault. They are completely playing off the top. And I'm going to play just a million blockers next turn. Oh, I can't believe I punted that, but it looks like we're still in it. If we lose this game, that's 100% my bad. The one time for Knight of the White Orchid to really shine, and I just didn't even notice. I didn't see the line. Go to 6. Keep as many creatures on board so that we can very, very likely kill the Swift Spear on a future attack. Some flood over there. Send in the team. Let's see the combat trick. If it's another like combat trick on both, like a Martial Glory, that's a very good draw. And pretty brutal. If it's a solo combat trick, we get some good kills here. Okay, they cast nothing. And we draw another Triplicate Spirits. Let's go! Oh! Our opponent is in the land of flood. I'm playing this just to not die to some random haster at this point, because I think we're just locked in for lethal next turn. Oh! Despite my best efforts, we won the game. We are 3-2 now, heading into game number 6. All right, here we are on the play for game number 6. If our opponent's aggressive, we have the Devour Flesh and Dizzying Swoop to buy some time. Then hopefully a massive Evangel later. If they're not aggressive, then we're going to just hang out, stare at each other for a little while. They're a green deck, so they could still be aggressive. There are some really good green aggressive creatures like the Ooze that levels up over time, the Gnarlback Rhino, Leaf Crown Dryad's fine. Devour that, because it's never going to kill anything better. Just if I Devour later, they could still just sack the smallest creature. So let's just get it out of the way immediately. I guess I have the Butcher to maybe kill that later, but that's going to be much later because I definitely don't want to sack Tactician to do that. I'd like to sack a Soldier off of the Evangel to the Butcher. Cool, 2/2 flyer. Show me Giant Growth. Oh. There is no Giant Growth in this format. I mean, there's not literal Giant Growth, but there is a 1-mana trick in green. It's like +X, where X is your devotion to green. All right, Stamina is a pretty good draw. If they do any funky business, I've got my own. No blocks at all, nothing. We're chilling. I'll just top deck a land, it'll be fine. Could be an argument for just getting a 3/3 down, but if we get a Heliod down, it's going to be so much better. I'm going to Supernatural Stamina here. If we don't draw the land this turn, it's important to keep as much power on board as possible, and even if we do, this will make the initial Evangel give me 6 soldiers. The biggest reason to not Stamina would be that staminaing the Evangel would be pretty insane. But if I Stamina the Evangel when one of the Tacticians is dead, that's 8 soldiers total. It's 4 on the initial, and then another 4 when I Stamina it. Versus 6 total if I just have both Tacticians still around, so it's not even that much worse. Alright, please don't Essence Scatter me, I will literally cry. Thank you. We got to do the thing. 7 1-power creatures off 1 spell. The board has arrived. Linvala? Okay, Linvala is like a big nasty flyer, but Linvala is also not going to get any of her extra triggers because we are way ahead in life total and board. Eat my Tactician. Take a bunch of damage, and then die next turn, please. They're down to 4. I just need 4 creatures to get through, and I currently have 6 more creatures than my opponent. So there's the concession. Evangel of Heliod did the thing. Feels good. We got to do some nonsense with that card from the bonus sheet. Yeah, got the devotion nonsense. I think that's the first time we drew. It's definitely the first time we cast Evangel. And having it with the Butcher as well was pretty nasty. It was a very nice little game for us. We are 4-2, guaranteed to have more wins than losses in this run. Who needs removal? We're 4-2 heading to game 7. All right, game 7 on the draw here. We've got some great early creatures. Again, slow them down with some swoops. Exile a card from their hand with Sin Collector. And then if we end up behind, which because we are on the draw is likely in an aggro mirror, then we have the Linvala with both triggered abilities potentially. They are blue-white. That is one of the more aggressive blue decks. Usually. You can also play a more controlling build, potentially. If they're going like Esper, some kind of 3-color deck. Ooh. Okay, well at least I'm not playing blue, so the island walking squids aren't a massive deal, but that's going to be a quite large creature over time. I guess it does tap to attack. It doesn't have vigilance or anything, so I can Reckoning that. Yeah, they're blue-white flyers. That is to be expected. So they are going to have a nice aggressive start here. Next turn they can consider an angel if they hit a land. And then the consider with the Skulker is pretty nasty. Yeah, this is not good. They immediately hit the land. Didn't even have to consider into it. So yeah, that buffed the Skulker, and now they get to cast a 4/4 flyer. This is bad. This is bad, bad news. Pretty happy to have this Linvala later, but for now, we're not having a very good time. I have the double swoop to buy us time. I might have to just chump Chasm Skulker every turn forever and never kill it, which is possible with this deck because we have so many tokens in here. But I feel like we're going to Reckoning the 4/4 flyer and just chump Chasm Skulker forever. Because again, if I Reckoning that Skulker, like, things are not looking great. Tempted to butcher the Sky Knight here. Take a hit in the sky. Yeah, unless they top decked an Essence Scatter, that should be pretty decent. Got an instant. They have something instant speed, or they're playing in full control mode. No enchantments in Graves. The Lotus Eye Mystics is just a 3/2 with prowess. Knight of the White Orchid. I do not have more lands than them. It's our buddy showing up and doing no work. Like it does half the time. I'd rather jump with the 1/1 flyer or the 5/5. Or sorry, the 3/3. I'm going to jump with the flyer because I'm about to Swift Reckoning their flyer. So I'm just going to keep blocking with the smallest creature every turn and then start cracking back. Alright, no Linvala yet, but Linvala is going to be so gross next turn. In the interest of making sure that I have less creatures on board than my opponent, I don't think I'm casting Ardenvale Tactician this turn. Well, I guess I could just chump block the 6/6 with a 2/1 and then... Yeah, no, I can do that. I'll just play Tactician and then chump the 6/6 with a 2/1. There's only a problem if they don't attack with it, which would be insane. Because, like, even though I could triple block and kill it, they'd be left with 5/1/1, so it'd still be a trade very well in their favor. Yeah, they're just definitely going to attack with it. Linvala time! Let's combat first and see if I can get them to cast anything. Just to make me feel a little more comfortable, and like they didn't just top deck a counterspell. Okay, they didn't just top deck a counterspell. Oh! I'm dumb. I'm dumb. We're still in a really good spot. I had less creatures on board than them until Linvala entered. It is an enter effect, not a cast effect. I actually needed to have one creature on board if I wanted to get the angel off of Linvala. But that's fine. We are currently winning the game here. That is good to know for the future. You have to have 2 less creatures than your opponent. Because otherwise, Linvala counts as one of the creatures. Just pro blue Linvala and they die if that isn't interaction in their hand. Yeah. Oh. That is even better. Okay. The Orzhov deck of 1,000,000 flyers outflies the blue-white flying deck. How many times am I going to say fly in one sentence? We are 5-2 now, which means that we're in the money out of this draft no matter what. We are leaving with more gems than it costs to enter. That is, despite our best efforts. We drafted some very mediocre removal and like only 2 copies. I guess 2 Slumgar Butchers. And then also almost punted away one of our matches against Boros. So very, very happy to be here. That is an excellent, excellent record for this deck at 5-2, heading into round 8. Okay, here we are on the play for game 8. Good old 2-mana 2/2 first strike, no abilities, is back again. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. We're back in business. Just get a Plains, go Plains Knight in turn 2. Tactician the turn after that. It's a pretty good aggressive start. Goodbye, Cartel Aristocrat. Get shuffled in. Oligarch. I don't know if that sounded disappointed. I did not mean to sound disappointed. It's actually good. Playing that over the Knight of the White Orchid. Leaf Crown Dryad. Any trade with Oligarch is a good trade. Yeah, Oligarch's really annoying for them because the Vigilance means that even if they don't take the trade there, we've got it up on blocks. So they just take the trade, and we are up a 1/1 flyer in that interaction. There's a Cura's Follower. Can untap any of their permanents. Usually it's going to untap lands and get them some more mana towards casting bigger spells sooner. It's possible I should Dizzying Swoop the Follower and Swift Reckoning here to keep them lower on mana, but I'm just going to play as threatening of a board as I can in the sky and get as much damage in as quickly as possible. Save the Swift Reckoning for whatever giant nonsense they play with the Follower. Yeah, we can Reckoning a Rhino later. Yeah, we're at the point we have to just play the Knight of the White Orchid. Get rid of its Summoning Sickness ASAP. I guess I could Reckoning the Follower now. Then I don't have Sajiri Shelter up. Yeah, I'll just hold Sajiri Shelter up. And probably Reckoning Rhino next turn. Ooh, boy. Yeah, it's going to be a big Rhino. Shelter can only target creatures you control, so you can't counter your opponent's auras and stuff with it. And I think even if you could, it probably wouldn't be worth it, because the Rhino would draw the card immediately either way. But now they draw an Audacity card. If they don't need the Follower to untap something for mana reasons here, that's going to be pretty awkward for us, because then if I try to Reckoning the Rhino, they can just untap the Rhino. It's probably the biggest issue with not Reckoning the Follower there. Yikes. Okay, the gain 6 is going to easily win this race. Well, this is more of the kind of matchup I was expecting when I drafted Swift Reckoning. of like this card has a lot of circumstances where it's super bad. This is probably the actual worst case scenario where they can literally just untap whenever I target and then it doesn't destroy anything. Yeah, I guess I had to just Reckoning the Follower there earlier. But again, I had the Shelter to hold up, so I was hoping... Jesus Christ. I was hoping that we get to make sure that we keep all our flyers by holding up the Shelter. Which we did. We kept all our flyers, but at what cost? Alright, GG. There's no outracing an 8-power lifelinker. Leaf Crown Dryad, and they still have the follower up. They don't need its mana again. There was literally one turn of opportunity to Reckoning it. You got me. 5 and 3 it is. To be fair, I think even if I blew up the follower that turn, the Rhino would still be doing just as much nonsense. Because obviously if I blew up the follower, then I wouldn't have the Swift Reckoning to kill the Rhino. So like either way, I'm doomed. I never had an opportunity to Reckoning the Rhino. Because the only way that they wouldn't have a follower is if I didn't have a Reckoning, and then I can't kill Rhino. And I die to it regardless. They never needed the follower mana after the turn that it was tapped. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was looking back on that and like thinking of it as like a massive punt that I held up Sajiri Shelter instead of Swift Reckoning. Because it ended up in me never being able to kill the Rhino with the Swift Reckoning because they still had the Kyora's follower, but if I Reckoninged the Kyora's follower, I wouldn't have the Reckoning for the Rhino, and they literally never tapped the follower again from that turn where I could have killed it, so the game would play out the exact same way, even if I Reckoninged the follower. So there was just straight up nothing we could do. That was not an actual punt. Alright, that makes me feel a little better. Still a rough spot, but we do get pretty much all of our losses as far as I can remember due to the biggest weakness in our deck, which is a lack of removal. We passed up on mostly the mediocre removal spells. I remember for sure we had multiple other opportunities to get more copies of Swift Reckonings and Devour Fleshes. And our first loss of Boros, we definitely could have won if I had some more copies of Swift Reckoning in this deck. That final loss, I do not think I could have won, even if I had all the removal that we saw in that draft pod. There is a possibility that there was somewhere really early in the draft that I did take like some spicy cards, like Sin Collectors or Blood Barons or something, over better removal spells like Obnixlus's Cruelty, but I don't remember that at all. I don't remember seeing a single copy of Obnixlus's Cruelty or Ultimate Price or anything like that. It really just feels like the best we could have done here was just having more Reckonings and Devour Fleshes, but I don't know for sure. I'll have to look back on it here and see what was in the draft pod. Outside of that flaw, this deck played really well. The triplicate spirits were fantastic, especially with 4 2-mana vigilant creatures, so we can hit them and then triplicate spirits convoke there. Sin Collectors were great. The Oligarchs were fantastic. The Tacticians were pretty big overperformers as well, also just buying us a lot of time against that second Boros deck, turning that almost guaranteed loss into a win, stabilizing off of 1,000,000 copies of Dizzying Swoop. That was really spicy. Our biggest underperformers are Linvala, because I can't read magic cards well, and I Linvala'd without any enter effects, but we still won the game by having a gigantic 5/5 flyer, so she still played well. And then Blood Baron of Viscopa. This is the #1 underperformer because we didn't draw it a single time. Sad day for Blood Baron of Viscopa, but a pretty spicy and pretty fun draft nonetheless. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.